Led by a lifelong interest in healing, Dr. Linda Salvin pursued an advanced degree in epidemiology. Then, after dramatic near-death experiences, Dr. Linda saw the other side and returned with gifts of insight, visions, and revealed wisdom. Now those gifts are ongoing, and she's here to share them with you. Get ready to be amazed. It's time for Dr. Linda Salvin's Psychic Solutions Podcast with America's original radio psychic, Dr. Linda Salvin, offering up her always fascinating blend of psychic psychology, clairvoyant insights, and expert guests and alternative healing methods. So pull up a chair and get ready for a visit with the one and only Dr. Linda. And now, live from Los Angeles, ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Linda Salvin.
Hey everybody, I'm back. I've been gone a week and a half. I took some time off, as you may or may not have known. Maybe you didn't realize you were watching some replays, but I did come back adjusted, and I came back a little under the weather, to say the least, which usually happens in travel. So bear with me as my voice is spotty today. I've been up for 48 hours coughing and hacking and taking meds and whatever to get better, and everything aches. As you know, when you cough, your whole body gets bruised and inflamed. So it's been to the chiropractor and Epsom salt baths and lots of water and sleep when I can. But it's hard. I hope you're okay. I hope you're well. But the most important part of this episode, besides my guest, who you're going to meet momentarily, is I'm wearing my Michigan garb, my hat, and my sweatshirt, and my bedroom slippers. Gee, am I really into my old school? I went to the University of Michigan for my master's degree in public health epidemiology, and I graduated in 1977. So last week I took a trip. You can bring Charlotte on. She can watch. I'll introduce Charlotte in a moment after I tell my little story. So last week I decided to go to Washington, D.C. in the dead of winter, where there's no beautiful trees or blossoms, the cherry blossoms or the poppies, nothing. It was just bare trees, but there was no people. It was very, very easy to get around to all the exhibits. So I went to the Capitol, of course, and then I was outside the Supreme Court before I went in. And all of a sudden, these two kids walk up with a Michigan hat. And I said, "Oh, go blue." I said, "What school are you in?" They said, "The School of Public Health." I said, "What year?" They said, "First year in public policy." I said, "Really?" I graduated SPH, which stands for School of Public Health, in epidemiology in 1977. What are the chances? Halfway around the country, on the steps of the Supreme Court, go blue. So that's my little story of coincidence for the moment. I believe in coincidences. I believe in ghosts. I believe in all sorts of weird things. And so does my guest, Charlotte. Charlotte's with California Haunts. We're the weird ones here. I do not get along with public policy people, nor do I get along with the real epidemiologists. I do. I'm intelligent enough. I have the background. I understand science. But in 1981, as you know, I was in a commercial airline plane crash, opened up psychically and got into the woo-woo. Along the way, in the woo-woo, I got my PhD in metaphysics, got into radio in 1994. I've been doing online stuff for many years back and forth. I met Charlotte along the way. She asked me to be on her show. I've had her on my show, and I was just on her show again, so she's back on my show again, because we speak a similar language, but we're in totally different areas of it. Mm-hmm. So meet Charlotte Kosa, who's a paranormal specialist. She does the ghost hunting. She hears the ghost. She sees the ghost. She finds the ghost. She gives people comfort. She'll cleanse. But I want you to tell the story of even when you were a child. You had visions. You had friends. You knew things beyond. I did not have my little ghosty friends. I kind of knew I was reincarnated because... And I remembered this when I was at the Space Museum the other day, last week at the Smithsonian. And I remembered when my father was pointing out the constellations to me, and I was about 4 or 5, and I remember looking at the sky. I said, "Oh, here I am again." And there was a man teaching his kids about the solar system. I said, "Oh, I remember my dad did that when I was about their age." So yes, we come and go and come and go, come and go, come and go. Nothing's really new. But Charlotte has a story that might haunt you with a couple of chills. So why don't you tell the group, the people, the listeners that will eventually download and participate and hopefully contact you at one point if they need you, what you do.
Well, I've been a paranormal investigator for 18 years. I've run my own team for 15 of those years. And like Dr. Linda says, this stuff went on when I was real little, and my family always thought that I had this really, really vivid imagination. And I remember I was one of these kids that always had imaginary playmates. Always had one. But I would see things. And even when I was real, real little, I would see things. But the problem was they were dark. I was seeing shadow people. And I remember...
Before you go on, why don't you explain what shadow people is? Because a lot of people don't understand that. I do. They're very low to the ground.
Mm-hmm. They're very low to the ground. They can also appear as tall. They're actually around 6 feet tall, some of them. A lot of them wear hats. And I believe that... excuse me, I have a cold. And I believe that what they are...
sick, but we do the show. We're so committed. Go on.
There's theories. There's different theories about what they are, and what these beings are. And one of the beliefs that I have is that this is someone that doesn't remember exactly what their body looked like, so they come back as a shadow. Some people believe that they're sinister. So there's different beliefs. It depends who you talk to. I had a good friend in the paranormal field, Lori Young, who told me during a lecture that there's people that have been around for a long time like me and Dr. Linda, but there's really no experts in this field. We're all learning as we go. And anybody that, and that's what I live by. So as far as the shadow people go, that's what I believe. I believe it's somebody that doesn't remember what they actually look like in life. And I remember it was only
let me interrupt you.
Go ahead.
Is it possible that they're caught between worlds?
That's possible too.
Ascend, and they've got the dark negative energy because they're still angry, that they don't understand how to get to the light or how to let go of whatever's earthbound holding them here. That's a theory also. And they can be dangerous, but they're not really harmful, but they scare people. I find one woman had him walk across the bathroom when she was in the bathroom, scared the daylights out of her when she called me. But she's okay. But they can haunt. They can haunt people. Do you go after shadow people, or do they just come say hello? Sorry, just come say hello. I shouldn't be doing this. Do they come to say hello to you because they like you?
I think so. I think it's because I have this energy that comes off of me. I'm like, somebody described me as a beacon in the night, like a lighthouse.
Yeah, they're not afraid of you.
Yeah, they're not afraid of me. I've had people tell me when I'm at the cemetery that I have a conga line of ghosts behind me. So when I was little, it started out where I loved horror movies as a kid. So that's why when I would see things, they thought that's what was causing it. And I remember one night my sister put me to bed, and I saw this shadow person walk past my bedroom window. And I couldn't have been more than like 4 or 5 at the time, when I saw it. And I didn't say anything. I just was like, okay, there's a shadow there. And then I remember I had bunk beds, same room, and looking up, and there were 2 shadow hands reaching down, from the top of the bunk beds.
That would have freaked me out.
Yeah.
That would have freaked me out.
And then I remember looking at the wall, and I would see them come out of the wall, But then it got more to the point where I was seeing apparitions in the house.
Let's ask a question. Let's answer Lowell's question.
Go for it.
Lowell, by the way, is studying and getting into paranormal studies. And he texted me saying he's going to participate today listening to us because he wants to learn. So he feels at the time of death, he may choose whether or not to pass on. I don't think that's true, but it's possible. It depends, in my opinion, for all the channeling I've done, that we all go on. It's just how high up, because it's like school, different levels of ascension before you're totally free or totally in the light. So it's not about whether or not to pass on, Lowell. It's about what level. When they get to the gate, the gatekeeper will bring them over. Sometimes children bring in children. Sometimes children act as the little guardian angels and gatekeepers to bring in their parents. They went before them or relatives, but they go to different levels. It's more than free will when it comes to death. Go on, Charlotte.
Oh, okay. So I started to see full body apparitions in the house. And again, the family thought I was by my imagination. My mother, who had abilities, my grandmother was a curandera.
What does that mean?
A Mexican medicine woman. And so my grandmother had abilities, my mother had abilities, but my mother was afraid of it. So she would brush it off. So of course I had the imagination and all that. So then you go through time in life where, and I've seen this with other children that I've worked with, children with abilities. You get busy with life, and you kind of push that stuff back because everybody has this ability. But then something happened when I was like around, I would say like 11 or 12, because I remember coming home from school. I was a latchkey kid. So I would come home from school, have my little meal. My mother would be home like an hour later, after I got home. And I remember sitting at our little breakfast nook, and I saw a three-dimensional person walk from my fireplace to my center divider. And it scared me. And my mom used to laugh because I wouldn't walk that way ever again. I would walk all the way around before I'd walk
into it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know what an apparition is.
Right.
So let me define it. An apparition is when you actually have the vision, a vision of a deceased person. I've had it twice with a rock star that channels through me. Jeff Porcaro from Toto has been with me since 1992 when he died. He went to my high school. And a lot of time, twice, once on my old apartment, I had a fireplace. He sat there with his legs crossed and said hi. And then I moved into an apartment later on, and he was leaning against the wall like, dude. And I'm like, okay, but I have notes of channeling and Ouija boards and all the proof that this guy was real. But when I finally, thank God I was in the field by then, and he had already kept me up for night after night after night, talking to me and taking me on rides of psychic mediumship. I had no idea. He came in as like a teacher. But an apparition, people, is where you get a sighting of a dog, a cat, a human, and you look twice. Did I just see that? But they do appear in physical form for a moment or two. Or like Charlotte's saying, they'll walk by, and it's scary because they weren't there a moment ago, and then they're not there later. It's sort of like they pop in, say hi, and go on their way wherever they go. Go on.
And then again, I was afraid to go by there, and my mother thought I was out of my mind. Parents do that with kids. And then again, it kind of went back into the back of my mind and things that were happening. And I also remember, I kind of digress a little bit too. I remember my brother was an anthropology major at Sac State. And he and his girlfriend were in his bedroom, the back bedroom where my big studio is here. And they were doing a Ouija board session.
I love the Ouija board if you know how to do it right and you protect yourself, because you can bring in some real negative entities that you don't want. But if it's right, you'll know. Go on.
And I remember I was standing by the light switch. I couldn't have been more than 4 or 5. And I remember, the whole, show us a sign that you're here, yada, yada, yada. And then the lights went dark. And I remember screaming, and my sister coming in and really being mad at him because of that. But I mean, I was standing right there when it happened. Anyway, going back forward, again, it went back in the back of my mind because I became a teenager, and you're doing teenage things, and you're not it's just the last thing in your mind. Well, when I hit around 22, 23, when I went to work, I used to work night shift, and I would get home real late, and I would be having, again, the same breakfast nook, and the TV would pop on by itself. That stuff started going on. And then I remember sitting in that room with the TV, and we had bar stools that, like my chair, which I fixed, guys, finally, like my chair would squeak. And I remember it sounded like
Hold
people
on,
were sitting.
we'll get to all your questions. I see them. Hold on.
I see that it popped up. I could hear, like,
are you out there,
people,
Misty? You out there? All you guys out there?
I could hear people sitting at my bar, at that breakfast nook, because you could hear the stools moving, like people were on them. And I remember,
my God.
Yeah, I remember.
You couldn't see it.
Oh, yeah, and I couldn't see it, yeah. And I remember telling my family again, hey, there's stuff in this house. There are things in this house. And, of course, they all went, And then I started to get into college, when I started college, I took film. And I was learning how to produce, TV shows and stuff at that point. And I decided to film a paranormal team, a local paranormal team. Then the doors opened, because there's psychics on that team. When you get around other psychics, you open up wide, and away it goes. Next thing I knew, I would go to these meetings. I'd be driving home from the meetings, and flashlights were turning on and off in my car. Things were following me home. And when I asked for help, they were like, well, just deal with it. You'll be fine. And so I get home, and of course, I got things going on in my house. I got stuff flying across the room. All this stuff's going on. I'm seeing apparitions in my house. And and one thing I have to tell you guys, if you're into antiques or antiquities, go ahead and do it. But if you think you might have psychic abilities, until you're ready to control your psychic abilities, don't get antiques or antiquities. I made the mistake. Right. I was getting Roman and Greek antiquities on eBay. Brought them into my house. Next thing I know, I had a psychic friend of mine come over, and she says, "Oh, by the way, there's a centurion sitting in your dining room." So I had to deal with that guy.
Some really weird energy.
Oh yeah.
I can relate to that.
Oh yeah. So that started it.
1990 something. I bought an antique table and chairs, and I brought it into an apartment. And the energy changed, my luck changed, the darkness evolved. And I was working at a campus back then. I was working in healthcare at Cal State Northridge here in Los Angeles. But that until I didn't know back then really what that energy was. It was a gorgeous antique table. But once I got rid of it, everything changed. People don't understand. Antique means over 50 years of age. So it's collected a lot of stuff. Even if when I was at Arlington Cemetery, I heard voices. I was in some of the old buildings, and there's a lot of negativity in DC. There's a lot of old energy. I wanted the history, but I think I collected some woo-woo that I don't need, so I'll call my guy to get rid of the she's later once I feel a little better.
It happens.
It happens. Yeah.
It happens to me even as an investigator. So I was dealing with the Roman. He was a nice guy. Thank God. It could have been really bad. He could have been one of these, and it happened to be during Easter time, and we were watching, those programs. And my friend goes, he's watching it. And I said, oh my God, what if he gets mad because the Romans aren't portrayed very, very well in these movies, you know? And she goes, no, he was from the 10 years before all this. So he's just fascinated watching it. I mean, that would have turned out badly too, had he gotten upset. I mean, that's the lesson. So what his request was that.
How many are we talking about? And you're still getting messages.
Yeah. And what he requested was that his thing was that he had been buried, and somebody, because back in ancient days they would put coins in the dead's eyes, in the eye sockets.
Never heard that.
Yeah, and so what his big thing was that he had been buried. What was
the significance of that, Charlotte? Why did they put coins in the sockets?
I don't know. I think it was to go through. I think it has to do with. When they crossed over into the second world, because they had who was the guy with the boat? There was a gentleman with you had to board a boat, and then they took you over the Elysian Fields.
I don't know all that.
I forget who he is.
That's interesting.
Yeah. You'd have to pay him. You'd have to pay the ferry guy to go to the Elysian Fields. That's what they did it. So his big thing was that he was around because it wasn't because I had any of his clothing or property, I had the coins. And so what he requested, because I have a lemon tree in my backyard, he said, his big request was, if you bury the coins in a nice box at the base of the lemon tree, I'll be happy and cross over. So that's what I did. So that was it. He went his way. But as I got more in with the paranormal stuff, of course, I got stronger and stronger. And then I noticed that I was really paranoid about walking past my dining room. Out of the corner of my eye,
you're going to see the activity.
Yeah. Out of the corner of my eye, I would see somebody trying to jump out and grab me.
Did they?
Yeah, no, they never got me. But I was already in my 20s, right? So here I am at that age running through that area, just trying to stay away from this person. And I found out, because sometimes you got to bring in another psychic to do it. So I brought in another psychic. And she said that this gentleman, because I'm only like 4 blocks from the river. So this gentleman had been a fisherman and he had fallen. And he had bled to death on the property. And so he was, mentally uncapped to begin with. And so he's still there. He's attached to the land. So he's still there. And then my mother had bought this older table. Something was attached to that. But that one's not too bad. I got ghosts all over here. And then when people die, because of this light I have, they'll come here. All my aunts and uncles are all here, And I've gotten used to it. I've gotten used to that stuff. And I remember when my mother had her stroke. And she was PTSD from the hospital because of what we went through with my dad. She refused to go to the hospital the first night. And so I put her to bed and everything. And the next morning, I woke up and I was sleeping on the couch, dressed, because you don't know when you got to take off, to go to the hospital. And I thought I saw her standing there staring at me. So I thought, oh my God, it's one of those pre-death apparition things.
Yep.
And I looked, and I followed her, what I thought was her, through the kitchen. And then when I got around down the hall, she was gone. So I go down to her room, and she's sitting there. She's okay. And then it dawned on me it was my aunt, who's like a year older than her.
I had a similar experience with my mom in 2009. My mother passed away on March 19th, 2009. I had seen her the day before on the 18th. And I remember waking up from a dream that night going into the morning. And I had a dream that was very lucid, because sometimes the spirits will come in the dream, but it's really you're lucid and you're actually out of your body communicating. I saw my grandmother, who was gone since 96. And I said, Grandma, I thought you were dead. She said, no, I've just been away. I said, well, Mom's sick. She goes, oh, she'll be okay. And she disappeared. I woke up. Then I get this phone call, like not an hour later. And it's my dad who's calling, said, get up to the house. I went to see my mom that day. And I said, Mom, I had a dream of Grandma. Oh, what did she say? Because my mom was complaining she was the only one that was left. And she had chemo brain from the chemo. I said, you're going to be okay. But I said, I'm scared. And she goes, I'm not. Don't be scared. So that was as close as we got to really talking about feelings, because it was always so limited with us. But I'd go in the kitchen and cry and come back. Okay, Mom, I'm okay. And I've never been okay, since you're not okay when you lose a parent. You're not. You're different. But as much chaos and ups and downs and bitterness or dysfunction, it's still your mother, it's still your father, it's still your family.
Right, no matter what.
No matter what. And then the next day, my dad called at 6 a.m, said, get up to the house, your mom just passed away. So within 24 hours, this whole thing took place. So I kind of knew, but I wasn't sure. But when you really understand the messages, you can watch for it. It just came a little bit more quickly than I was hoping. But it was her time. And I think I've told this story before. If you watch for totems and symbols, that previous Sunday before she passed away, my neighbor came over and we captured a bird, a lovebird on the house wall. And we took it to the bird store, and I knew it was a lovebird. And so my neighbor named it Rainbow, and his wife. The kids loved it, but they were so squawky, they called and asked me if I wanted the bird. And I said, sure, because I love birds. So here's the squawky little Rainbow that became mine. I said to my mom, I got a new bird. She goes, what's its name? I said, Rainbow. She goes, Rainbow? I said, yeah, why? She said, well, that's the code name for the alarm system on the house.
Wow.
I said, Rainbow? Yeah. So Rainbow stayed with me for 7.5 years. And every time I would see him or hear him or whatever, it was this message of my mom, that whole episode. It helped me heal. You never know how to watch. Yeah, to watch. Even when I was in DC, I had squirrels coming up to me like they wanted food. I was their friend. If they were running along the lawn, birds, a lot of animal communication while I was gone. So I know I was protected. We'll get back to you in a moment.
Sure.
I've always collected feathers and pine cones besides dimes and pennies. I was thinking of something that I really need to take care of for my New Year's, a personal thing. And all of a sudden I see this feather. And I was on my way to the Holocaust. Holocaust Museum of all places. And I picked up this feather. It's still in my purse, but that's kind of like my totem for now to get me through this goal I have set for myself, because the spirit, or my mom, or my grandmother, or my aunt, or somebody on that side, Jeff, somebody wanted me to really trust that goal that popped in my head. And this was that sign: you can do it, or we're here for you. We may not see, but when you learn to look at the universal messages, it's all there. That's before we go back. Let's get Lowell back up here and bring up some of his questions, because he's talking more free will.
Sure.
And he's learning. And everybody, the recent spirit that we released had overwhelming guilt and didn't want to go up to see God. That's very true. That's very true. They're not ready, like I said, to get to the level they can achieve. And I have worked with people where they're close to the earth plane, and I channel them, and I help people understand what level people are at. I've dictated suicide notes. I've dictated anger. I've dictated guys chewing bubblegum. I've dictated why they committed suicide, how they died in a car accident. And recently I had one girl that was so angry at me because she couldn't get answers from her mom. But for a week I was in pain and anger because all this woman was angry. So it's my fault. Her angry mom didn't want to talk. So, give us a break, people. So you can see them leave the body sometimes. You can watch them ascend. But like going to grammar school and junior high and high school and college and then working your way through life, there's different levels of spiritual growth. And I've said this for years. The more spiritual you are in this lifetime, the higher you're going to go when you transcend. And if this soul you were working with, Lowell, didn't want to let go and they still had earthbound guilt for the kids or money or relatives or whatever he did, robbed, who knows what he did. Once you learn to communicate as they're transitioning and they say to the person they still have earthbound emotions of guilt to, then you can release it. That's what I do in my channeling sessions. I help the other side, the spirit, communicate with the person on this side. And that's why it's been so successful in my cutting the cord for saying my book's coming out next year. It's all about this. And
Cool.
The runnings I've done. Have you worked with any camera that captures apparitions?
Yes.
Talk about that.
Yes, not video per se. I did have a door open on a couple of occasions, but photos. We've done photos. I was with the other team when I was filming them, and we were at the Woodland Opera House, and its photos appeared in a couple books. And we were both standing on the second. Pretty much, when you go into the Woodland Opera House, it's one of these deals where you go through a side door and you start above, so you're above like a level and a half before you go down.
The balcony and the little private seats.
To sit in there, yeah. And we happened to come in through the door, and the psychic was standing next to me, and she goes, "There's someone there." And so she snapped the photo, and she actually caught somebody walking down the aisle with this photo. And it was a really clear photo. Whoever it is wearing sandals, or just dressed up like, maybe not sandals, but whatever they're wearing. But it looks like sandals, and they're wearing pants, and you could just see everything on this person. And I saw it. Nobody was there. Same place. We were up on the balcony. We were in there with one of the local newspapers doing a Halloween story thing, and we caught two little children up on the balcony that weren't there before. Wow. And you could see it because that's where we put our command center up there. Because I was going to do everything from up there.
Towards it.
Yeah. And one scene, no one's there. Next shot, you can see the little hat on the little girl. I was at the Sacramento City Cemetery, medium Nancy Matz, doing her cemetery walk tour through the cemetery. And there's this one particular grave, the Woolsey grave, that is very, very haunted and active. And she was standing there, and I have the photo, and I was using infrared film in my camera. And you could see Nancy waves her arms a lot. So she's doing her bit. And you see Mayor Woolsey sitting next to her on the tombstone. You can see the pearls around her neck and the hat she has on. So yeah, we have caught things.
You're gifted and you have all of that. Are you presenting, have you produced a documentary that we can look at or see yet?
We're actually, I've kind of dabbled in that as far as my own team goes. We're going to be doing that this year. This is the year. I've got both my studios set up here, and so my team members are going to be coming in to introduce themselves. Get out there so the public knows who they are. They're going to get each one's going to get like a 5 or 6 minute introduction. So I'm going to be filming that for my team members, and then we're going to start doing a documentary on the old hotels in the Gold Country.
I love that. That's
so
going to
be exciting. We're gonna have a lot of fun doing that and filming. I've got permission to go into these places, and I'm real stoked about it. And we've got new cameras. And one of my team members passed away, and she had all this new equipment, and I ended up getting it all. So so I'm gonna have all these new things to do, and I'm real stoked about it. But yeah, we have picked stuff up on camera, and there's certain people like I know any of the pictures, the apparitions that we've gotten, I haven't gotten them. But when you have a team like this, I've got 45 on my team. And, we're up and down California. There's certain people that can do certain things. That have the psychic ability. Maybe it works with them or something. So I have people that are really good at getting EVPs. I have people that are really good at getting pictures of apparitions and things like that. And so usually they're the ones that, that get these photos. But over the years, you're able to sort through your people and find people that have this talent to do this. And so we've been able to
stop right there, because there's a lot of fakes, as you and I have talked about. There's a lot of wannabe could-bes. Oh, I'm a ghost hunter, like on TV. They're all scripted, and people don't know. The TV shows, the reality shows are scripted reality shows.
Yeah.
They're planted ghosts, or they're planted, what's it called? What's the box called? The voice box, the EXP. What's it called? There's a couple of them that are out. The EVP. When they're picking up the EVP and they hear the sounds of the house or at a graveyard, and not all are legit. I know a couple of people that are very, very legit, and then I know so many people. People swear by the YouTube psychics. People swear by the YouTube mediums. People on YouTube. And I had this argument with a friend of mine yesterday. She goes, "Well, I love them. They're free." She doesn't want to pay my price. Well, yeah, but you get what you pay for. And if she wants to believe half of what's out there, and we talked about this, I think, on your show with all the charlatans and all the Instagram and all the YouTube. Yeah, there's some gifted people. But then there's the real people that have come up through time and through the back end and really worked hard to prove the difference between the wannabes, could-bes, and the reality. You've done amazing work in helping people. You've been around a long time. You were in your 20s. I didn't get into it till my 40s. So you've got a lot of history and experience, which is amazing.
Well, along with the question that he asked earlier about the guilt, we had one case. I had one case that took me 3 months to figure out. 3 months, because there was so much going on in this house. And initially, when I went into the house, they thought, because they were very Catholic, so they thought that it was a demon causing the problems.
Right.
And we always do our walkthrough. It's 2 to 3 hours to do our walkthrough and main interview with people. I have a 101 question questionnaire when I talk to people.
Wow.
Very thorough. Very thorough.
Yeah.
And as a newspaper reporter, that's my thing. I watch body language and all that stuff, so I'm watching them as they're talking to me. And I remember walking through the house, and they had blessed religious icons on the walls. And I came out and I said, "I can tell you right now, it's not a demon." And the gentleman was like, "Well, why is that?" I said, "Because those wouldn't be up there. Those things would be on the floor if it was." And so it
threw them off.
Yeah, I mean, it would toss them off.
Sorry, people.
Every room they had these icons, and it was an older couple who were taking care of their disabled son. I think he had MS. I think he was autistic, and they were having issues. And the man, it was really odd because the man really was very forceful, very angry gentleman.
All right, Pat, keep talking.
Absolutely, he was a very angry gentleman and hard to talk to. The wife was easier to talk to, and so the man was very insistent that there were demons in the house and all this was going on. And we started to sort it. That's what made it so confusing, was because there were objects being thrown around the house, like the poltergeist activity and things like that. Just trying to figure out what was going on. And the son was kind of afraid of the guy, of the gentleman. And we did some ITC work, and ITC work, I forget what the definition is of it, but there's this thing we do with water, and you put down a black pan with water in it, and you put a bright light on it, and another person takes flash photos of it, and you ask questions just like you would during an EVP session, and faces will appear. And hopefully it's faces from the house. And we picked up a couple of faces that didn't belong in the house. Plus, I picked up a really odd picture of the boy's bedroom. I picked up his Winnie the Pooh doll that he had in there. And this isn't a boy. This kid's this guy's 34 years old, but he had this stuff in there because of his autism. And so, like I said, these people would call me 24 hours a day. They were calling. Everything was paranormal to them. Everything was paranormal. And I had to sit there and go, no, that's not paranormal. It's just the sun coming through there. It's just this going on. And so, like I said, I was working with 2 other psychics trying to figure this thing out. And the last day we went there, the man was really, really, really angry. And I found out, too, from the wife. She called me later and said, he had a brain tumor that they took out. And I said, really? I said, when's the last time he was checked? And that's part of what we do, too. We have to look for that stuff. And she said, well, he hasn't been in a while. I said, I think he should go in. I said, he's got this anger, and this anger he's got, it just doesn't make sense that he would be this angry. So sure enough, she calls me, and she says, oh, by the way, he's got another tumor. So that explained that right there, that part of the case. He was hallucinating. He was seeing stuff. He was seeing dead animals. Yeah. And that was part of it, but I still couldn't figure out what else was going on because there was also what seemed like another ghost there that we couldn't pin down in this house. And so finally, one of our psychics goes out, Trish. This is the last day. And the man decided he was going to have one of his bad days, and it got to the point where we packed up, we were leaving. And one of my associates walked in and told him off to settle him down, to get us back in. So I have this I have this recording of this EVP session we did with Trish, channel, and it turns out there was another ghost in the house, and this ghost had been there originally when the property was, when there were 2 houses before this, and this particular ghost person had lived on the property in one of those 2 houses, and he had been a drug addict, and his father had thrown him out of the house. Is the story we got.
So and he was retaliating.
Yeah, he decided to burn the house down. But he didn't realize his mother was in the house.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So he killed his mother doing it. And so what was going on was he decided to make up for what he had done, that he was going to protect the boy from the father. And so he was the one that the father kept seeing, and the one that that the son was seeing.
And so the spirit will come back and help us if they understand we're on their side and we want to help them. Just like this angry woman and this angry client of mine, I don't even think I should respond to her, but she still has me upset from the words she used that was so vile. Like I disappointed her, but I couldn't go beyond what I was bringing in. I can't change the story. And people don't understand. You can't make stuff up. People do, but it's either there or it's not. And I'm the type of medium that, and you're talking about brain tumors, when it's one of them's in the book, that I couldn't read somebody and I had this horrible headache, and my friend or my client at the time in the 90s said, oh, my friend died of a brain tumor. Another one had a brain aneurysm. Another one had stomach cancer and I was throwing up all day. Another had sleep apnea. I hadn't slept in a while. I bring in all this stuff. A true medium will take on persona or attributes. And that's what you deal with. And people don't understand the sensitivity. Yes, it's low, it's fun, but it's dangerous. And the more I'm away from DC, I know I picked up a lot of stuff from a very old entities, and some of the, like the old houses, the hotels, the restaurants, even the Capitol's got, statues going back to Washington, and it's all there. But there's a lot of negativity. It needs a cleanse, and I'm not going to go cleanse Washington. But they don't really realize why it's off-centered on top of everything else politically. It's the whole combination of energy and the people that go there. But when you deal with somebody like you're dealing with the tumor, and then you finally pinpoint it. Then you're giving the people the closure and the communication that they're seeking. Then there's peace. Then it starts to calm down. And that's the beauty of the other side of our work. That once we do our research, or once we do the finagling, the figuring it out, and working through all the schmutz, as I call it, then comes the blessing, and that's where people like you and me thrive at the end. It's like we get bonuses and a lot of presents, and oh my God, thank you for everything. People hang up and you never hear from them again. It's not like we're valued,
Right.
At least not in my experience. But as much as I give my New Year resolutions to give less, I'm tired of putting it out there all the time.
It's tired. It's very tiring. It's very taxing.
And people I don't know, maybe in your at the end of the day, how many really care? There's a percentage.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's not there. You do the work, they're happy, or they'll complain. And then you go on to the next thing. It's not like, I think being an accountant might be a little more rewarding in some respects, or maybe being a banker or a baker. I don't know. But some people seem to be just flooded with gratitude at the moment. And then all of a sudden, hello, remember me.
Right. Well, I'm going to be releasing the recording from that session very soon here. The video cameras weren't working. Go figure, right? And so I did get it on audio, and there's about 5 of us in the room, and this boy is there with us, and he's telling us his story. And I said, well, would you like to be released from this? I mean, we've talked to the man. We know why he's why he's doing this with his son. Absolutely. We understand it. He's sick. He's got something in his head, that's causing this. You don't have to be here anymore to protect the boy. And so it took some doing, because you got to talk to these ghosts, when they're stuck.
A lot of times it's a whisper that you have a hard time even translating, let alone hearing. When you're ready, and it's in the can per se, as they say, will you come back and share that with us?
Yes. And Trish was channeling him, so we were able to have an open communication with him. But it took us a while to get him to say, okay, I'll leave now. If the boy's safe, I'll leave. But I'm afraid to go because of what I did to my mother. And I said, I'll tell you what. I said, I can guarantee you one thing. That happened so long ago. Your mother loves you. And I could call her into that. If you look straight ahead, to that light, you will see your mother in that light. She will come and take your hand. And so this took about, I would say, a good 15 minutes to do to get him to maneuver over.
Yeah.
And I watched Trish. I said, now, what I want you to do is reach for your mother. Go ahead and reach for her. And Trish stands up, puts her hand out. And I said, are you touching your mother's hand? Yes. Well, go ahead. She's going to pull you through. It's okay. No one's mad at you. It's all good. And I watched Trish. The second he went through, she fell backwards into the chair.
Yep, because the energy, we're the conduit. We're the conduit, like the light plug, and somebody's plugging it in, but the currency goes to the house. Somehow the electricity's getting there.
Yeah.
To keep the light on. Just like this girl that is still upset. When I think about it, I told her at the end, just tell her you forgive her. Why should I forgive her? She was mean to me my whole life. She never loved me, blah, blah, blah. I said, but she came from a place that, for whatever reason, she was like one of 3 or 4 kids, and mom didn't like this one. But with her attitude, I kind of know why, but at the same time, maybe she was bitter because of the mom. I don't know all of the story, but even the way she's talking to me, there's a lot of back and forth. But I had her tell her mom she forgave her. And then I said, let's close this, because after an hour, as you know, it's very draining.
It's very draining, yeah.
Of course, a day later, I didn't get any information. I'm like, how do you prove what you've done? And you're only dealing with what you've got.
Right.
And it's not like I could make stuff up,
It's very hard to prove it.
It's very hard.
It's very hard, So, yeah. So that was what, I mean, like you say, we felt so good after that case, because the son, after all this was done, he came over and hugged us. The boy did. He was so happy.
Because he didn't have to feel the guilt anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And then the sick boy too, he because he would see this other ghost, in the house, and it scared him, and so he
So
didn't
he
see him
elevated,
anymore.
but
So
he
he was
elevated.
happy. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So
yeah.
he was really happy. So yeah,
You know,
of course we never heard from him again after that. But that's just
that's
how
how
it
it
is
is.
in these
It's
cases. You
closure.
just
They get the
you move
closure, and
on,
they get
boom,
the
next
case, and
case,
they move on to the next
next case,
case.
and off you go.
Exactly.
But
You
yeah, so
know,
it's fun. Like Linda says, those cases make you feel great. That's what keeps you doing this stuff. Is when you can go out and help a family like that. That's what keeps you doing it.
there's always one more person that you've helped, and if we can help somebody on this plane
Hmm.
understand the other plane or that trapped in between feeling, which is what we do with the ghosts or the spirits, just like my friend George Brown from Kool and the Gang passed away about a month ago, and I did the eulogy at a large funeral a couple weeks back. And
Hmm.
he comes to me, and I hear him, and his wife asks me for certain messages, and sometimes he's loud, and sometimes he's not. And right now, he's in that adjustment phase because usually it's 30 to 45 days of adjustment. But he came right through at the beginning, then it got quiet,
Hmm.
and sorry. I miss him dearly. Everybody does. He was loved. There were about 300 people at the funeral. Kool and the Gang. He wrote some of the greatest songs. That was his legacy.
Absolutely.
You know, Celebrate, Too Hot, um, Ladies' Night, all those old songs of Kool and the Gang that we grew up with in the 70s and 80s. And he still had an album out this year and finished his book this year. And now he talks to me, and somehow they asked me out of all the hundreds of people to do the eulogy. So I was grateful. But I feel him, I hear him, I talk to him, and he'll call me Linder because he was from New York, so I can always hear him coming through. And it's the same thing with you. You pick things up, and sometimes you know how to identify your friendly spirits
Hmm.
that don't go away. And in the few moments we have left, what is it that you do to cleanse or release yourself after you've worked so hard in the field
Hmm.
outside, doing the work? Is it just with me? It's a shower, it's sleep. I get drained. I drink a
Hmm.
lot of water.
Yep.
What do you
Yep.
do?
I do. I'll shower. Drink lots of water, sage. Say make
Mhm.
sure I
You need
sage
a
it
lot of sage,
because
yeah.
I can tell you my house is an open door. My fireplace is the opening, so they're coming through back and forth all the time, whether it's relatives or not. I mean, I can tell. You probably can too when you bring something home that doesn't belong there, because the ones you have in the house act a certain way. You're used to the way they act, so you can tell pretty much when something's different in the house. So I'll have to do all that. Then I have to get them out of my house. I'm opening all my windows, yelling at them to get out, doing stuff like that. But yeah, I have to really cleanse when I get home because it is exhausting. And there's times that I'm down for 2 or 3 days after doing stuff. I've done posts, at the end of cases where I could feel something go through me. My stomach will flip. Something goes through me, and then that'll knock me out for days. So yeah, so it's a question of cleansing and calming things down for myself. And it's like she says, like Linda says, it's tiring. It's exacting, and but it's also very beneficial work when you can help a family, when you can help someone that's in need, and that's what I do it for, is to help. I don't care about TV. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just like to help people, and it makes me feel good. That's my thing. And getting back to my mother, as she got older, with her dementia, she would see more stuff as she got more acclimated to seeing stuff. So she would help me on my cases towards the end. So it was nice because she would see things that I didn't see. So that helped a lot too. But I don't have a website up right now. We're rebuilding our website, and it's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be a real nice website. But I do have my YouTube show going on, and we're keeping occupied, and we're starting to build up a case list that we're going to be doing, and we're going to be doing a lot of live investigations online, so you guys, so people can check us out and see, the work we do, because I'm very meticulous about how I do, how I handle my clients. People argue against work being done in the neighborhood. Yes, I have had that problem with people because not everybody believes in this stuff. So, they either think it's a joke, or they just don't want us out, thinking that all the weirdos are going to start coming out, especially if we go live, thinking that all the weirdos, ghost following people will be coming out to, walk around the neighborhood and visit the house and do stuff like that, do drive-bys and whatnot. So it still is a field where, even though there's more acceptance now because of the TV shows, there's still those people that don't believe and they're totally against it. So you face that. You face that all the time. Again, like I said, we're going to be doing some lives, so I'll have links out for that so you guys can watch. Follow me on Facebook. Follow California Hospital.
That's Mercury retrograde. Sorry.
It is Mercury retrograde. But it's like, as I was saying, it's like Linda says, it's exhausting. So I might go down for 3 or 4 days afterwards. Yeah. I was telling them how, doing a post, I had one go right through me, even doing a post. I could feel it go through me, and it knocked me out for 3 days. So you have to be really prepared.
To close in just a moment.
Yeah.
But one last question, Rebel, if you can just give us this moment, that I want to get her contact information. But do you ever get, I sometimes get so angry or frustrated, it takes over me, that a part of my personality yells or screams, or I become like this monstrous, demonic persona. Some of my friends that get it, I said, I'm in between worlds and something's attached. They understand. Other people have walked away because they think I'm loony. Yeah. Have you gone through that where it takes over your personality, where you have no control? Does that happen to you?
Yes.
Good. I'm not the only one.
Absolutely.
I can't explain it. I'd like to pick this up on another show of what it does to us as the healer and the medium and the conduit. I would like to pick this up. Maybe we can do it again next week if you want.
We can do that. That's fine. Yeah, set it up. Yeah, we can do that. I've also had other psychics who weren't such good, personality psychic-wise come into me. Like when I was at work, I could always tell when this one particular psychic.
Oh, they're jealous.
Got into my space, and I can feel it because my arm, it feels like it's falling asleep, only it's like a pinched nerve feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you hear them.
Yeah. Or you hear them.
Energy. Or it's like, what do they want? Why are they trying to bring me down? I haven't talked to this woman in 2 years. Blah, blah.
Yes.
We got to shut it down.
Yep.
Where can people reach you, Charlotte? Yeah, we'll book you for next Thursday. We'll just pick up phase 2.
Okay, that'll work. Yeah, you guys can find me. You can find me on Facebook. Our website is down right now because I'm making major changes. Plus, it's Mercury retrograde, so everything.
It's a mess.
The radio website, the toilet. It's right down the toilet. But you can find me on Facebook. California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team. You can find me over on Instagram under Ghosty Gal. That's all lowercase. You can find us at Cal Haunts over on Twitter. I'm California Haunts on TikTok. I do a lot on TikTok. So just about everywhere. Just type in California Haunts, and we'll just pop right on up for you. So I'm real excited. youtube.com/@ California Haunts Radio. That's another place. I've got 800 videos sitting over there, and they're all on different paranormal topics, just like Dr. Linda has her stuff. So, yeah.
We're out there trying to
thank you so much. I love talking with you.
Thank you too. Me too. It is always fun. We have a good rapport because we're in totally different areas, but we understand it. And I'd like to pick it up for next Thursday.
Let's do it next Thursday. I'm game. Let's do it.
You think about how it really affects us as the human rebel. Let's take us out. I want to say thank you to California Haunts, Charlotte Kosa. You can find me at Dr. Linda Salvin, or Dr. Linda at lindasalvin.com is my email. And watch for the contact information here. I'm sorry I've been ill, but I picked up some whatever where I was in DC. Next week, everybody have a happy new year. Let's see if Michigan beats Alabama. I don't know if we'll be wearing my U of M garb next week, but we'll see. I should be psychic enough to know. I used to call sportsbook. I don't do it anymore. Have a wonderful holiday weekend. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you enjoyed Dr. Linda Salvin's Psychic Solutions Podcast. You can reach Dr. Linda at 888-509-1077 or at lindasalvin.com. Need a breakthrough of your own? Ready for answers or insights nobody else has? Reserve your own one-on-one in-person chat. Dr. Linda isn't just for other people. Dr. Linda gets results for you. And it's easy. Contact details are on screen now. Just click on lindasalvin.com or call toll-free 888-509-1077. That's lindasalvin.com or toll-free at 888-509-1077.